Peter Pankes. I'm from the Emigr8 team. Well, I will be moderating this session. And today we are privileged to have Mr. Augustine as our facilitator for today. And Mr. Augustine will be sharing his insight around how we can strategize to secure remote jobs from homes. Okay, so today's session promises to be very, very insightful and interesting. So feel free to contribute, feel free to ask questions, and it's expected that you have your writing materials handy so that you can be able to jot down some key important factors that will be discussed on this session. Yeah, and I just want you to know that this session is supposed to be a premium session. Being a premium session means that it's supposed to be a paid session. You're supposed to pay before we join the session. But for the time being, we'll be getting this session for free, but just put it at the back of your mind that in the nearest future, we're paying to access this service, okay? So welcome once more, everyone. Mr. Augustine, you can take over the floor. And Mr. Augustine is going to introduce himself properly to us. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today.
Welcome, sir.
So yeah, so my name is Mr. Augustine Emehara. I'm a software engineer, and I've been working remotely for about 5 years now, since 2020, even before the COVID. And since then, I've made it a culture to work for companies that are willing to hire me remotely. So I work every day, but I don't go to the office. And it kind of gives me the flexibility to use my time the way that I want. So I'm going to share with everyone my experience and the things that has helped me to get to this level where I've been working consistently remotely for companies abroad for 5 years plus. And yeah, I've been able to have been able to move from company to company, because I think in my career so far I've worked remotely for about 3 companies. Sorry, 4 companies in between. I've worked remotely for a company in Indonesia. I've worked remotely for a company in the US. I've worked remotely for a company uh in Canada, and I've worked remotely briefly for a company in Mauritius. So yeah, before I proceed, I would like to confirm from Peter. Peter, is it okay if my camera is turned off, or is it a requirement to turn on the camera?
Yeah, it would be nice if your camera is turned on. Yeah, ideally the session is supposed to be a video call session. Like
Okay.
everyone's supposed to turn on their cameras. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's fine. I can just turn on my camera. So yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Nice. So as I was mentioning before, uh, I have worked remotely for companies from, different countries, like different continents as well. And I think it's like a very interesting opportunity when you work for companies remotely. I remember the first remote job that I got was for a company in Canada. And, the time difference, I had a colleague that was in Vancouver then, and then there was another one in Germany. And I think we had this odd time difference kind of thing where, for example, when you are sending a message to your colleague, it could be when the other colleague is sleeping and things like that. But we find a time in the day where we can all work together and have overlapping time. So yeah, so to move forward, I'll be telling you the things that you need to do to be able to strategize and find and be able to get these opportunities. And one key thing is you need to be you need to know what industries hire remote. workers, like people that are the industry that is willing to hire people from abroad, because it's not just any industry that hires people remotely. And I think for most of us during the introduction, most of us work in tech. So it's very fortunate that tech is one of those industries that hire people remotely. I think for outside of tech, uh, you also have customer service and marketing as well, because these are jobs that anybody from any part of the world can do as long as you understand the product. So even when you understand the industry that hires remote or people remotely, you also need to understand what companies in this industry hire people remotely, because it's not just every company that hires people remotely, right? So you cannot be in maybe like in Nigeria and you're working remotely for, let me say, Apple. It's possible to work for Apple from Nigeria if Apple has a regional office in Nigeria, but it will be very unlikely to work for the Apple US branch directly from Nigeria, right? I'm just giving an example. I don't know if Apple hires directly from Nigeria, but you need to be able to like identify these companies, the companies that are willing to hire remotely. So it boils down to like, researching, knowing these companies and yeah, like identifying them and applying. And then the next thing that you need to consider is that you need to build no, you need to like build relevant experience, because in in the real aspect of it, getting a remote job is not something that is easy, right? It's actually very difficult, because if you are looking for a remote job, you are in Nigeria and then you want to work for a company like a company in the US that is, that pays in USD, or maybe a company in Canada or Australia or somewhere else, you need to understand that, for example, if you're looking for a job in Nigeria, you are competing with people in Nigeria, or maybe you're looking for a job in Lagos, you are competing with backend developers in Lagos. But when you are looking for a job in these places, you are not competing with just the developers in Nigeria or even Africa. You are competing with people from India, you are competing with people from Japan, you are competing with people from Brazil, you are competing with people from Europe as well. And you're also competing in some cases with people in the US as well. So it's not easy, and the only way for you to be able to like get this job is for you to be like really good. Your experience level, you have to be like, if you know JavaScript, it's not like, some people they like, they polish their CVs a lot. But when it comes down to, maybe they're asking you how many years of experience do you have in JavaScript, for example, or maybe what is your level in JavaScript? Can you rate yourself 1 to 10? Then on your CV, it is 9 over 10, but in reality, maybe it's like 4. So in those kind of cases, you shouldn't be applying for a remote job yet. You should like, you know, try to be actually good in what you do, master your skills, build the relevant experience, and then you have a better opportunity of being in the position. And then after that, you also need to like have like a good professional online presence, right? So in terms of like online presence, what do I mean? Your LinkedIn profile needs to be very polished. Your GitHub account, if someone goes to your GitHub account, they should be able to like see that, okay, from your dashboard, oh, this person has like 1,000 commits in the last year. Maybe you are contributing to open source projects. Maybe you are writing articles on Medium, on LinkedIn. You are like out there. You are like, you join, like you like have like a voice outside of the place that you work. So your online presence needs to be something that you need to prioritize. And it should be able to like tell the story of someone who is good or who is an expert in their field. So you need to like take this very seriously. If you're not a developer, I mentioned GitHub, like GitHub or for developers. If you're a designer, you also have like your Behance where your work should be visible and things like that. So after you are able to do this, the first thing that I mentioned was that you need to be really good. You need to like your skill set need to be up there, and then your online presence needs to be good as well. Then after that, you can now start um, tailoring your applications to suit these roles. And I mentioned that if you are applying for a remote job, maybe you're applying for a job in the US or Canada, I mentioned that you're not just competing with people in Nigeria, but you're competing with people all over the world. So it could be that, for example, a job that was posted can attract up to 1,000 or even 2,000 people. So the applications that you send for these roles need to stand out, right? So they have to like look at your application and it has to like match the skill set that is being advertised for the job. Before I continue, can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
Yeah, I can hear you.
okay, thank you so much. I just wanted to confirm so it wouldn't be like I'm talking to myself. So you need to, when you see these jobs, you need to like tailor your CV or your applications to suit those jobs, right? And to stand a better chance, it's always good that you apply for jobs that you know that you are qualified, because it's not just applying for jobs, right? You also need to like, after you apply for the job, if you are lucky, interview stages, there are like different stages of interview. The stage where your CV is screened, which is like, the first step. And even after your CV is screened, you have like the call with the recruiter. Then after the call with the recruiter, you have like the technical interview. And after the technical interview, you have like the culture fit and all those things. So it's always good that you are honest with your application, right? You should be, so that you don't waste your time, waste your emotions. And at the end of the day, maybe get discouraged or something like that. So it's always good that you apply for the jobs that you are qualified. In terms of qualification, you shouldn't apply for it. You shouldn't wait until you're 100% qualified for a job to apply for a job. You can apply for a job when you are like 60% qualified. Like that's even me, that's what I do there. You don't like have to like look at all the whole requirement and say, oh, I must meet everything. But in terms of like the core skills that job wants, you need to have it, right? And also your communication skills needs to be very good, because you can be like a tech expert, you know how to solve all the whole problems, but you don't know how to communicate this problem. Then maybe let's say your technical skill is like 9/10, and then your communication skill is like 3/over 10. So if you're in a position where you have to like, maybe they ask you to like explain something during an interview stage, and then you're unable to explain it properly, because not that you don't know it, but because your communication skill is not good, the person is going to assume that your technical skill is 3/10. So you need to be able to like build your communication skills to be able to like, you know, explain technical terms to people who are not very technical, both on your CV and during the interview stages. So when you are tailoring your CV, you need to be able to like, do it in a way that suits the role and like tells the recruiter that you are the right person for the job. And you also need to, I mentioned build an online presence. Let your LinkedIn profile say a lot about you. So in some cases, you don't even need to apply for jobs, some of these remote jobs. You can just like, based on, because recruiters are always reviewing people's profiles on LinkedIn. For example, they also do that on other platform, but LinkedIn is a very popular platform for that. So they can reach out to you directly on LinkedIn. So you have to make sure that your LinkedIn profile stands out. And one way to make sure that your LinkedIn profile stands out is that you need to uh fill in, like when you are filling your profile, you need to like fill in the skills for each job. Make sure that the description of the roles that you do is very clear and easy to understand. And also it is also good to like do the skill-based test on LinkedIn. For example, if you are a front-end developer, you should do the JavaScript test on LinkedIn, web developer test on LinkedIn. If you're a Python developer, you should do the Python test on LinkedIn. So doing these tests and scoring high we like help recruiters. Because when recruiters are reviewing profiles of people to contact, they can like look, oh, this person has done this LinkedIn test, this, that. So they have more assurance uh to reach out to you. So yeah. Then uh in terms of like after you've polished your LinkedIn profile and you're also applying for these jobs, just applying for jobs and polishing your LinkedIn profile is also not enough. You need to be able to like have the right network around you. You need to be able to, reach out to people, have people to mentor you on this, like join communities of people who work remotely. There are several communities where you can join. There are communities on LinkedIn, there are other communities on Twitter. Hear from other people's experiences to understand how they were able to like land their remote job. So build this network around you of people who are doing the things that you want to do and stay consistent with that. And also, in terms of like applying, you need to be able to like identify uh the the job websites that are posting remote jobs so that you can apply for those jobs. And another thing that you need to do is that when you do all these things, sorry, when you do all these things that I've mentioned so far, there is you like have a high chance of securing at least a job interview with maybe one of these companies. And when you do that, that's like getting a job interview is like the very first step, right? Because just applying and being called is like a step in the process. The other step is like convincing the recruiter or the hiring manager that you are the right person for the job. And to do that, it goes back to the initial thing that I mentioned. Your technical skills have to be very good and your communication skills has to be very good. You have to be able to like combine these two to stand out in the interview, bearing in mind that you are applying for a role that is very competitive with even your recruiters. If you are in Africa, for example, there could be like a bias that, African developers are not really all that good, or maybe they don't understand the fundamentals or this and that. So the bias may already be against you. So you really need to come prepared for the interview and know that when you are speaking, you like let the recruiter know that you know what you know. And the only way to do that is to be good, right? And also to work on your communication skills. So you need to practice a lot of interview questions, just the way that you practice for maybe for a local job, or you need to go the extra mile because, as I mentioned, the competition for remote jobs are not that, the competition is really something else. And you also need to stay consistent. And you need to stay consistent. You need to be adaptable to the job market. And you also need to have patience, right? These are soft skills that you need to possess, but just like every other thing in life, you need these things to strive because I don't want to say you so that it wouldn't be like I'm swearing for you, but for most people who apply for remote jobs abroad, once you search their email, there's usually a lot of regret mails. People will get that regret mail, a lot of regret mails but when you get all those regret mails, maybe say if in a day you can have like 20 regret mails because all the applications that you're applying for is declining your application. But you don't have to quit. You have to continue. You have to be persistent. You have to be consistent. You have to keep applying. You have to keep upscaling. And with time, everything is going to work out the way that you expected it. For me, as an example, I think I started looking for a remote job from 2019 or to 2019 or 2018, right? I kept looking for like I didn't get my first remote job until like almost after 2 years of searching, right? And in that 2 years of searching, I had a lot of rejection before the first one. And with the first one, I was able to like get the second one. I was able to like get the third one because at that stage, the most challenging part is getting that first one. So once you're able to like get it, right, the other ones become a lot easier. So yeah, that's basically it. I don't know if anyone has any question at this stage or if you like to ask something or if everything that I said is clear, I would like to hear your opinion as well.
Okay, yeah. My question is actually a very straightforward question, and I just want to know, are there specific like websites that you could go so that to search for remote jobs?
Yeah, in terms of remote jobs, uh, yeah, there are specific websites that they only post remote jobs. I think there is Remote OK, there is Remote OK, there is We Work Remotely, there is Remote.co, there is Flex Jobs, there is also LinkedIn, and you can also get a lot of people are also advertising remote jobs on platforms like X, right? You can just like type, front end developer
Okay,
on X, you
all
will
right.
see a
Thank
lot
you,
of
sir.
jobs and things like that. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can just unmute and then ask your questions, or you can just drop your questions in the chat box. I think somebody's raising up his hand.
Yeah, I
Emmanuel,
think
yeah,
Emmanuel,
you can
go
go
ahead.
ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, good evening. So you mentioned tests on LinkedIn. Can you like share how to take those tests? Because I've been using LinkedIn and I've not seen anything like that.
Okay, so there are skill-based tests on LinkedIn, and if you are updating your LinkedIn profile, at least from the last time that I did mine, if you are updating your LinkedIn profile, uh you add like maybe React to your profile, to your skills. It's going to like prompt a command for you to take the React test on LinkedIn. Or you can just maybe just that like do a quick Google search. How can you take LinkedIn skill-based tests? So once you do that, it's going to like, I think they have 15 questions for each skills, that the questions are timed. So once you do it, it's going to score you and tell you where you appear if you are in the top 15% of the people that have done this test, or if you passed it, because you can also fail it. But before you do it, make sure that so that because if you fail you can do it in the next 6 months. I think if you fail a test, is yeah, in the next 6 months. So if in the next 6 months, uh yeah, so you have to wait until 6 months time, and then maybe recruiters that are reviewing your profile might see that you failed the test, and they may not reach out to you. So you have to be sure that your React before you take this test, your React skill is good and things like that. But yeah, if you feel it is not the worst thing that can happen in life, you retake it again in 6 months.
I
But
think that feature has been removed from LinkedIn.
it has been removed.
Yes, it has been removed.
Oh, okay. Because I think I did mine in 2022. The last time I did was in 2022. But you can confirm. You can you can confirm. I'm not
It was
sure though.
removed last year.
I'm trying to like do like a quick check. But yeah, if anyone has another question, they can ask.
Yeah, you can also drop your questions in the chat box. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, just to mention, I see that 1 year it was removed 1 year ago. LinkedIn skill assessment are no longer available. We heard from her as an example of how candidates applied. But this is one way. It does not stop anything. You can still do the other things that I've mentioned and add add the skills that are relevant on your profile. And yeah, make sure that uh you you have the right information on your profile. So if you do that, it's going to like help build that visibility and also increase your connections on LinkedIn as well. Connect with people that are in your field. I think on LinkedIn is usually good to have minimum of 500 followers. So that's when you actually become visible on the platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you talked about handling interviews when maybe when you are dealing with international recruiters or international tech companies. So I would just like you to throw more light on that. Like, what's your advice for handling interviews with international companies?
Yeah, the way to do it, as I mentioned, is be very good at what you do. Like you have to, if you know React, for example, you're a React developer, you're a content developer, you have to make sure that you understand the fundamentals. You're actually good, right? You can defend your skill set. You practice a lot. And after you've done that, you have to build your communication skills and to be able to like communicate these skills. And if you are able to do this too, being technical and have good communication skills, then you don't have a problem. Even though, there are some days where things may not go your way, but in the long run, everything is going to work out.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yep, it's time for
Yeah,
questions. You can ask your questions.
excuse me, Mr. Augustine. My question is a follow-up, to the interview question Peter
Okay.
was, talking about. In that kind of situations, we that are from this part of the world, Nigeria, okay, in the past few years, that remote work has been prominent. Yes, there's been this trend to whereby I've seen social media posts, and trends whereby foreign recruiters, are having, second thoughts about hiring, people from this part of the world due to
Uh,
bottlenecks such as power supply, internet connectivity, and some of the unusual um, challenges that people from this part of the world will talk about to their foreign recruiters, and as compared to those in the developed nation who won't really be bringing such excuses that would sound to the recruiters and employers at times. In that kind of interview situation, how, from your experience, how can one navigate such narrative and convince the recruiters that one will be able to you know produce the goods.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's an interesting question. So I think in terms of like maybe something like power supply and things like that, if they are even like on an interview with you, they send you like an invitation to interview, they don't even think like that. And I've never, in terms of like personal experience, I have not had a situation where a recruiter is asking me that how will I power my laptop or network and things like that. So they don't think in that direction. What I will only see that they think is that they know that, people can abuse the privilege of working remotely and then maybe they like keep multiple jobs. Maybe you are working remotely, you keep multiple jobs and then you are not committed to your work and things like that. So that is like very, very individualistic because there are people that, since when a lot of people started working remotely, they started like having multiple jobs. And when they have these jobs, uh they are they don't give 100% to the job that they have. They just like, they just do it because they want money and things like that, not considering, you know, the impact on their career and also the impact for their reputation. But at the end of the day, people who do these things become low performers and then they lose maybe after a while the company sacks them, or maybe if the company has had a bad experience with somebody like that, then it can play in their decision of deciding that maybe they don't want to hire people from Nigeria anymore. But in terms of like power and things like that, I don't think all those things they actually good that day because some of them don't even know that, like Nigerian devs have like good rep abroad. Like companies abroad are willing to hire people from Nigeria because they know that Nigeria, India are like one of the tech hubs abroad that companies in the US or Canada or even Europe are looking to hire from. So yeah.
All right, that's good. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hi, please, I have
Yeah,
one more question.
yes, sir. Also, Sadia, I just want to be sure if it's true or not. Yeah, I have this friend who is in the UK. He's into tech, but he has not secured a job. Uh, yeah, so far, and his narrative is that tech recruiters most likely recruit people from Africa because of labor cost. I don't know if that's true. That if you're from Africa, you stand a higher chance of securing a tech job.
That's not true. That's not true. So it depends. So in terms of like you said he's in the UK and he has not secured a job.
Yes,
Okay, so in terms
even
of
though
like
he recently moved, yeah, like some 3 months ago.
okay, in terms of like securing a job, it depends on the type of visa that he's on. So for you to work in a country like UK, like to be a local employer, you need visa sponsorship. So maybe if he has like the right documents to work, is he a student or is he working full time? Is he on tech visa or is it depend on the class of visa? And also, even if you have all these requirements, probably the companies are not seeing him as qualified to maybe he's not scaling the interview stages, or maybe he needs to like polish his CV and things like that. But I don't think that employers will prefer to hire people abroad. So yeah, there are companies that, you know, they want to go abroad to like get, like cheaper labor because it's actually cheaper to hire people from abroad, but the percentage is not like every company in the UK is like running to Africa to hire people, right? There are some companies that do it. There are some companies that are also like sourcing for talent that they want to leave their position to be open so that they can attract the best talent. So regardless of where you are, you still find those opportunities, but they usually prefer to hire local, but opportunities are still open for people who are working, who are people who are outside the country for those companies that prefer hiring abroad. So that was, it also points to the initial things that I said, that you need to be able to like understand what companies are hiring, what companies hire remotely, things like that. But majority of companies do not hire remotely. Like even in Nigeria, there are a lot of companies, but some companies in Nigeria do hire people in India, but it's not like is any company that can hire people in India, right? So yeah, that's what I think though.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. Yeah, I think somebody was trying to speak. Somebody was trying to
I have
ask
a
a
question,
question.
please.
Yeah, you can go ahead, please.
So I wanted to ask, how do you advise as a newbie to set up one's CV? So take for example now, most of the job openings out there, they require that you have experience. So on your CV, how do you set it up that even without experience, they still want to hire you? Things like that.
That's where patience comes into play. You have to be patient to grow your skills. You have to be patient to build your work experience, and you also have to be patient to be really good. So in terms of like setting up your CV, in most cases, companies that look abroad are looking to hire mid-level to senior devs. Those are the people that stand a better chance of securing a job or securing a job remotely, especially in tech. But in customer service, in marketing and things like that, there are companies that, they just like want a human being that can, do stuff like that. So in that way, you have to just like tailor your CV to communicate more of your soft skills and things like that. But in terms of like tech and the industry that I believe most of us are in, you have to work on your work experience. And one way to do that is to work for reputable companies. So, for example, I believe everyone here is in Nigeria. So you can start with, if you cannot get a remote job, you can start with targeting to work for the top companies in Nigeria, working for maybe Paystack, working for MoneyPoint, working for all these companies that have like strong international reputation. And if you are in that category, it becomes easier for you to get, a remote job abroad, because in those cases, the company will assume that your work culture is similar, or the way that your development work is done is similar to the one that they do, right? So those are the things that you can do while you work on your work experience. Then maybe after 3 years into your career, you've built some level of experience and you are actually a good dev, then you can now start exploring all these opportunities with confidence. But you can still start early, maybe after 2 years, to test the market and see. But most times you need to have those years of experience.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
hello.
you.
So I want to contribute to the question you asked just a little bit.
Okay.
The question the other guy has, or the other guy had, right? So I'm trying to understand where it's coming from, right? So I understand that even companies in Nigeria, right, they require 1 to 2 experience, right? So what I can say for him is basically, there are a lot of projects out there and a lot of open source communities, right? And a lot of dev communities that work on projects just for the experience to be gained, right? Not really for the money, right? So I think it should look for these kind of opportunities to actually go a skill to show evidence that, oh, I have worked on a live product or a live production before. Then can even give him the opportunity to even have a job opportunity even in Nigeria, because most companies in Nigeria tend to require you must have done something. You must have pushed the product. You must have your GitHub page must show like at least 500 contributions, that kind of thing. So I think we just start from contributing and kind of not thinking about the money for now, and just try to gain the necessary skills and evidence that, oh yes, I have done this before. I think yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a fantastic point. Yeah, you have to, you know, uh, look for uh, an avenue to, like, have like codes that have been deployed and in production, that are production ready. So in that kind of position, yeah, it's going to like help you. But you don't, I think the only one thing that I'll mention, that you don't have to wait until you have like 500 commit, because some I think there was a company that I worked for, and then the GitHub account that I had was for the company. So if you check my GitHub page, you wouldn't see like commit during that year, but I was actively working and committing to the company's repo, but it was not reflecting on my personal GitHub repo. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any other question or comments?
Yeah, if you have questions, you can just ask. Uh, while we're waiting on more questions, I think we would like to connect with you on LinkedIn, Mr. Augustine, and everyone on the call can also share their LinkedIn handle so that we can get connected.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Feel free to send me a connection request on LinkedIn. Uh my name is Augustine Emehara. I think you can find it here. So once you send me a request here, I'm going to accept. I think only the guys have asked questions today or have contributed in one way or the other. And I know that during the introduction, we had a couple of ladies, but no one has said anything.
Yeah, guys, we can share our LinkedIn handle as well so that we connect with one another. Okay, let me drop mine first. Okay, sir. While we are trying to connect with one another on LinkedIn, so I don't know if you have any last word for us before we round off the session.
Okay. Yeah, so what I will basically say is that, if you are looking to get a remote job, or maybe not just a remote job, but you're looking to grow in your career, just try to stay consistent, practice continuous learning, always improve yourself. The market is changing. Uh, if, for example, you started front-end development in 2020, you have to, the market is not exactly the same now in 2025. So you have to continuously improve, upskill, and see what other people are doing, follow tech blogs, um, contribute to open source code. Contributing to open source code is one way to also grow your tech skill, because you get to see like how other people are building projects, things that they are doing, and in a way that's also going to like help you to get the visibility that you want. Yeah, that's basically what I would like to end the meeting with. Stay consistent, have patience, and also like build your mindset, because it's not easy to get these remote jobs. So in that case, it is possible that you may get a lot of rejections, but if you have this strong mindset, it will help you not to quit, and you will continue until you get what you are looking for. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Mr.
very much,
Augustine.
sir. Yeah, I believe
Yeah, welcome.
this session is very, very insightful. I guess myself personally, I've really learned a lot. Yeah, I've noted some key important elements that were discussed during the session, and I believe each and every one of us on the call did enjoy the session, and I believe it's going to be helpful to us as we navigate through our tech career journeys. Yeah, and I just want to just say this, yeah, securing a remote job from home is achievable with the right strategy, with the right skills, with the right mindset. You just need to stay consistent, stay visible, and position yourself where global opportunities can find you. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. I hope to see you again next week. Let's enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me, and take care. Bye.
Thank you.